Welcome, everyone, and welcome, Jill. We have with us Jill Lublin. Oh my goodness, publicity. I forgot the name of your thing, your organization.
Jill Lubin publicity is easy.
Jill Lubin Publicity. How easy is that? And yeah, uh, tell our audience a little bit about your business, your books, um, and then we'll talk about kindness.
Absolutely. So I'm the author of four books back here, including Guerrilla Publicity, and I'm a publicity expert and specialist. And I run medium mastery intensives and been helping entrepreneurs, gosh, close to 30 years to really get your name out there and increase visibility. And then I authored a more recent book called The Profit of Kindness. And therein I help people get and give more kindness to each other, and I've been speaking all over the world about that too. So it's a lot of fun, and we're putting circles of kindness together. And we have people meet every month now to keep spreading this important point that we know is key in life.
Hmm. So how do you organize kindness? Why is kindness profitable? And I think we kind of all know that it's key in life, or told when we're small children. But yeah, tell us what you see about kindness.
So, the reality is, it's interesting when I started putting this book together. What I looked at was, how does the profit of kindness relate to publicity, guerrilla publicity in particular, which is what I've been doing. And I realized, sort of the big aha for me was that kind companies, kind people, frankly, get more business, have more trust, engender more consideration in the marketplace. And sometimes that's your competitive edge. Isn't that interesting? And
Well,
go
uh,
ahead.
just even the title of your book, The Profit of Kindness, made me think of how to win friends and influence people, right? The essentially first modern self-help book that basically says you get by giving, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that really is true. And the reality is, it helps the flow in the world, as we all know. And the reality is that it is the kind of thing that people notice. And even if they don't notice it, and frankly, I do think it's not even important at one level if people notice it, although certainly nice. What matters is that kindness matters. And, look at the golden rule that we were all raised with. Look at things that are just said about, be kind to your neighbor, and all of these things that we actually do grow up with, that does and is kindness, watching out for the people who live in our neighborhood, and, what can you do to extend a hand, and all of these things. And, the reality is, this is what's moving our world. And I have a big thing that I put out there. Instead of a random act of kindness, I think that's good. Listen, whatever works, it's good. But imagine this: if we all practice a conscious act of kindness every
Mm-hmm.
single day, just one, what a different world it would be. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes for me, I know if I get to the end of the day and I'm going like, okay, what did I do that was kind today? I'll send one text, one email, I'll write a handwritten note. These are not expensive or complicated things. They're just a moment of putting a thought into something good, and reaching out and being kind.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think people can leverage kindness in the political arena, especially given how upset people are with people who disagree with them?
Yeah, that's probably one of the toughest things right now. And I think the biggest thing, and then maybe the kindest thing you can do is, thank you for expressing your opinion. You can be quiet. You don't have to say, I don't agree. Or you can say, I disagree, but I'm going to disagree respectfully. And I think, I know for me, I've had to end multiple conversations just feeling like I wasn't really getting anywhere. We weren't getting anywhere. We weren't being able to listen to each other. And I say, you know what? And listen, I have friends I absolutely don't agree with, and I can still be friends with them because here's what's interesting. I can just say, here's one subject we're not going to talk about.
It's
That's one way.
yeah, it's interesting. It makes I have this memory when I was in my so I square danced for a long time with my parents. My mother just died this year, but um, from 1982 to 2011, I belonged to a square dance club. And at one point in the 90s, I was in my 20s. I was I just had this reservoir of goodwill with someone in the club who turned out to be in conservative politics locally in the town I still live in. She died quite a while ago, um, and we were at a potluck dinner for the Square Dance Club, and she was talking about taxes and how she's against taxes, and I'm like, well, what about the services? And we just had a very civil disagreement. And somebody came up to my mom and said, I can't believe she talked to Doris about politics. So I mean, yeah, there was this reservoir of kindness because we loved to dance together that we were actually able to have a conversation about policy that we were literally activists on opposite sides of.
Yeah, and I love that. And that is possible. And honestly, if it isn't possible, sometimes the kindest thing you can do is walk away, disagree respectfully, or just say, hey, it seems like we cannot have this conversation right now. I mean, it's happening in families, it's happening in relationships, and that's the sad part. And the truth is, there's still kindness that's possible even within that.
Mm, excellent. And yeah, and how do we make communication more kind?
Well, a couple things. One is, avoid reactivity. I mean, listen, somebody says something and it upsets you or triggers you. I think the kindest thing you can do is stop and, catch your breath. And I sometimes really think no reaction is the most kind thing you can do, and just say, I need to think about that, or let me get back to you about that, or I'm not ready to respond to that right now, is a really kind thing to say. And I also saw a really interesting kind response to something on a cruise ship. I was in the spa, and this woman was yelling at the woman behind the counter. I don't know what happened. I don't know what the circumstances were. And frankly, it was very disturbing to all of our peace. I mean, honestly. And the woman behind the counter, obviously trained in these things and kind, said, listen, I really want to help you. The truth is, you're yelling at me and I cannot respond to you appropriately. And frankly, you're interfering in the other space of everyone else here by disturbing their peace. Come into the other room and let's talk about it, and let me see how I can help you. And that was it. And she took her away. Thank you. And, hopefully resolved her problem, whatever it was. But I thought what was super great about that is she actually put boundaries on this. She said, please, let's talk about this in a better way, kind of thing. It was just a nicer way to deal with everything without being crazy, hey, on both sides. And it, as far as I know, got resolved.
So I think I give a lot of trainings on communicating across political difference, and so what the skill that really jumped out at me in this one was focusing on a common goal, right? You want to be helped, I want to help you. um, and and then I guess this isn't something I train on, but it is a conflict thing, getting agreement on what seems like an unimportant issue, which is where we're having the conversation. Was important to the woman behind the counter, low cost to the woman who had a concern.
Right. And wonderful that that they got it out of our space, because guess what? It affects everyone around you too. Listen, we've all seen it. I've seen people go off on other people. I'm like, what the heck was that? And my friend was telling me at a post office, the guy behind the desk was just like out of control, whatever it was, right? And sometimes the best thing is what I call it slowly backing away. It's like, okay, maybe this isn't the best day to talk to you about that. Whatever. Do the best you can in each moment. I think, one person starts and another person gets inflamed, and there nobody goes. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what good does that do?
Yeah, and I think you also talking about, like, you didn't use these words, but nervous system regulation. Like,
Right.
when you're agitated, your kindness just isn't available, and you can have the exact same conversation a different time.
Yeah.
Or
That's the other truth, right? I mean, listen, and I think people are living in this time in a just generally in a state of much higher anxiety and stress, and you've got to know that that's happening out there, right? And so maybe the person who's going a little too fast and trying to cut in front of you on the highway, like, okay, fine, go. That's kind of how I feel. Just go, because if that's what's key, like, I don't need to drag race or whatever it is. I'm just saying, I mean, that's another great example. It's
yeah.
like, let the people go.
Again, it's like, it's high stakes for them, it's not high stakes for you. Easy
Good
to
point. I
just
love how you put that.
Yeah, yeah. um and how did you stumble, not stumble on, but you were doing publicity, you were helping entrepreneurs get visible. How did you find this emphasis on kindness?
Well, and I still do that. I mean, I love doing that. And the whole kindness piece started with a dear friend of mine and her aging journey, and me taking care of her, frankly, and being kind to her. And I remember one day she looked at me and she said, "You are so kind. And wouldn't it be great if we had a new currency?" She says, "The currency of kindness." And I went, "Ooh, ding, ding, ding," and I took it to my publisher, and they're like, "Yeah, we love that." They changed the title slightly to The Profit of Kindness. And here we are, now creating a ripple effect with kindness circles, with great publicity, and talking about this. And that, that's how it really got started. And what I see is the need in the marketplace to keep this conversation going, because people care, and it's like a safe place to land. What I've noticed, and I do kindness circles monthly, and I notice people come into them and they feel like, oh, like they can take a breath, out of their busy days and busy lives, and just have a moment to remember and be in kindness.
And so, in a kindness circle, what happens in a kindness circle? I could guess, but
Yeah. So what we do is we connect each as a group, and I have people put in the chat what they do, what they've done for kindness, what it is that people love and connect to. I have a guest speaker for 10 minutes for the World Kindness Day. Did you know there's a World Kindness Day? On November 13th, there is a World Kindness Day, and I'm having Jack Canfield talk. Super excited. Wow, wow, wow. Of Chicken Soup for the Soul fame, in case you don't know who he is, some of you. Yeah, but super excited. So we're going to have that, and then I always have 2 networking sessions where people actually get to connect in kindness with each other. So that's what happens at a kindness circle. It all completes within 1 hour, and there's a lot of kindness passing, just saying, and a lot of wonderful interactions.
so people exchange kindness in the room, and also do kindness outside and report back about it. Is that?
Sometimes they do. I mean, Jack's going to actually have us connect about some kindness actions that people can do quickly. And then I have people report on the kindness actions they've done in the past. Sometimes I make it 24 hours, 48 hours, but definitely recently. And it is completely free. And please come join us at any time for any kindness circles. I know you're going to put the link in the show notes, but it's jilllublin.com/kindness circles.
Amazing. Amazing. Um, oh, so I just opened that page instead of looking at your questions. Um, and have I guess actually what keeps coming up for me is, I'm in my 50s, so I grew up kind of in the end of the small business era, but it wasn't gone yet. And when you think of like small brick and mortar businesses, it's so obvious how kindness creates loyalty, right? Oh, the lovely, I mean, I was very loyal to my candy shop, and the clerk was very blasé. And there was a paint store when I was in my 20s, this like legacy, small business that was still around in the late 90s. I bought my paint there every time because the owner, or I think he was the owner, the shopkeeper, was so lovely, right? And so much more of business is anonymous now. It's, order something online, never interact with a human being. Or, you go to CVS and maybe the manager is lovely, but it's not because it's CVS. It's just that particular person. And you could go to another CVS and have a terrible manager or never meet the manager. So how does bringing kindness into how can it make a difference in this era of mega corporations?
So, listen, here's what's interesting when we wrote The Profit of Kindness. Here's what I noticed. Small companies, big companies, people who we interviewed, guess what happened when the companies used kindness? The company made more money. I mean, really, it affected the bottom line. The culture was happier, meaning the employees. The customer noticed. And definitely people were consistently happier at companies that, I'll say, practice kindness. It's interesting. Honda, the car company, put out commercials literally using the kind word, using kindness as, part of their advertising. That's fascinating to me. I saw a bus in San Francisco for a major health company called Dignity Health. You know what they're running? The Human Kindness Campaign on the side of San Francisco buses, which is very expensive advertising, I must add, that kind of thing. So it is happening. And, big companies, it tells me, it's like going green, right? That was a hot topic. Well, guess what? Being kind is another hot topic. And it's in, I'll call it the lexicon, the conversations now. I see it coming up a lot, which is very exciting to me.
How lovely. So, let me ask. So I've got two questions I'm asking. We've got more than 5 minutes, but one question I'm asking is about purpose. A lot of people who are watching this show are ready to make a difference in the world, but not quite sure what their place is. Maybe they're entrepreneurs or want to be, or maybe they're activists or want to be, but people who are called to do something and may not be 100% clear on what. Do you have what advice would you give to somebody who's trying to align themselves with what they're meant to do?
So, piece of this is I do feel like life is a bit of an evolutionary process. Listen, I didn't know I was going to run kindness circles when I started my publicity business, right? I didn't know that. I think that life is a bit of a, you row your boat and you come down a river and there are different things that happen at different times that call to you. I think it's important to follow your inspiration. And if something like goes, ooh, that's, or that, those little voices come in. I mean, I sort of, well, I'll just say I almost literally heard a voice start kindness circles after I wrote the book, The Prophet of Kindness, that came in that order. And then it took me a year and a half to start kindness circles because I was busy promoting the Prophet of Kindness. So I think that some things are just a bit of natural timing, and that you have to kind of watch the time unfold and see where right time is. I call them, the parking lot, like park certain ideas in the parking lot. And there are times when you go to the parking lot, you find, that car and you bring that out. I definitely think watch for the inspirations. And I've noticed for me in my life, as I do that, that's where the great things occur.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my process of discovery was not all in 5 seconds, right? It was not all in one moment. It was not all in one exploration. I tried this, it was close. I tried add this, oh, that's a little closer. A little bit of a
Exactly. Exactly. And, part of that is just having some patience to walk through it and sometimes, fall on your face. I mean, I've fallen on my face many times and then you pick yourself back up and here we go. We try something new. And I think that's part of life and being an entrepreneur and success or failure. It's all part of life. It's, you just gotta not take it all too personally and really the pick yourself back up part, I think is actually important.
yeah, yeah. And there's an element of trust, right? That getting closer but not there yet still counts.
Yep, you bet.
And the
Close
timing
is good. Close is
close
good.
is good. Yeah. Amazing. And then tell us about your free gift.
So I have an opportunity for you to get some great public relations tips
Mm.
and get deeper into it, some easy things that can work for you in the area of publicity. Plus, I have, as part of this gift, an interactive, free, live publicity masterclass. It is live with me on Zoom, and I'll pour into you some great content, plus answer all of your questions. And you get that at jilllublin.com/guide, and that's completely free.
Amazing, amazing. And for people who are not entrepreneurs, there there's lots of reasons we might want publicity.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, the reality is being seen and being heard and using your voice and having a message. You might be working on a nonprofit. You might be part of a community association or organization. You might be organizing something in your neighborhood, or you might just want to be a person who uses your voice to make a difference, period.
Oh, thank you for that. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jill, on this election day. I'm doing a lot of interviews on election day for some reason, and thank you for thank you for bringing kindness to the forefront.
Oh, thank you, Alice, for having me. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.